We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
This crusade, this war on terrorism, is going to take a while.
We came, we saw, we died.
We tortured some folks.
Yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty.
Ladies and gentlemen, the pod has been parked. It's episode 56 of Dave versus Goliath. Thank you for being here with me to help me take on the world. Damn, do I need your help more than ever. Guys, we had a good one tonight. Not one, not two, but three guests. And three good ones. Three local boys. Three libertarians. Lowercase, uppercase, does it even matter? If you're into that liberty shit, we can talk. But before we get to that, don't forget, smash all the buttons, likes and subscribes, leave some nice reviews. That would help your boy a great deal. Dan is off tonight because he's a punk, but I love him. So he's welcome to take some time off. It's not Dan and Dave versus Goliath. That was the deal. So it's up to me. But we're going to get into it tonight. Like I said, I got a couple local dudes with me. We were going to talk about, the local strategy and what's up in the small state of Delaware. But I think we might take some detours tonight because of all the stuff that's going on in the world today. So let's get right to it. First, I'm going to bring in my buddy, Carter Hill, who is chairman of the Libertarian Party of Delaware. What's up, Carter?
Hey, what's going on, Dave? Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome, man. That was very business professional. I like it. Let's keep it cash. No, I appreciate you being here, bro. You're doing a great job as chair. The party is lucky to have you, and thanks for being here tonight, man.
Absolutely.
Next up, we got my boy, Randy Dascher. This guy has been good to me, good to the party. He is the producer and co-host of Rick Jenson in the Morning on WDEL, the very radical Randy Dascher. What's up, man?
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for having Rick Jenson middays.
Middays in the morning. No, I like that. That's for some reason it just felt
Rick
right.
Jenson mornings rock all day.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, I've told you 100 times, but you are blessed with a great radio voice. So they're lucky to have you, dude. And Delaware is lucky to have a advocate for liberty on the airwaves. So thanks for being here, brother.
Pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be on Rick's show. And when I get to express liberty, there's nothing finer. So
isn't that cool?
Yeah, big time. They don't let me fill in anymore, though.
Oh, see, too much liberty. That's the problem. We got a word down from corporate. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more neocon.
Yep. Called down to HR. Had a couple of talks about some things. Yeah, we'll get to that, man. I'd love to. Last but not least, we have a dude who's got a great podcast out. He's been crushing it. He is consistent, and he's a good libertarian. He was also at the Rage Against the War Machine rally with me, putting microphones in people's faces. So he's out there getting it. Greg Boulden is the host of America Emboldened with Greg Boulden. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Dave? Let's get emboldened.
I'll tell you what,
that would be a fun opening.
It absolutely is. Let's embolden the shit out of this thing. And both of you guys, I've told you, have fantastic radio voices. So you're both blessed.
I was just born this way. I can't really can't do much about it. But I didn't get the sense of humor that Randy has. I love Randy's sense of humor on the Rick Jenson show. So I'm looking forward to that tonight too.
I love that we're all here, man. Yeah, some good minds in the building tonight. Let's start with you, since you were the last one in, Greg. everybody here at least leans libertarian. I know I don't know if you're a party member or not, or no judgment, don't even care. But can you give me a little background on why you're attracted to libertarianism, how you found it, and what you're up to?
Yeah, so I'm a Ron Paul libertarian, so to speak, I guess would be the way I got into everything. When he started running for president, I was like, oh my God, I've never heard someone talk this way. And this is everything that really resonates with me, that the establishment, the lobbyist, everything's really corrupt. We have this oligarchy of presidents, the Bush family at the time, Clintons, moving over to Hillary Clinton. And I was just really fed up with all of it. And Ron Paul was talking about this reasoning for why 9/11 happened. And he talked about our interventionist policies and blowback. And that really resonated with me too, is I never thought about what we put out into the world as far as our United States military in the name of democracy, and the way that could have unintended consequences back towards our country. So the Libertarian Party really kind of called me in from that. I was a Republican most of my life, but then I found myself registering with the Libertarian Party in Delaware. And then there was some crazy stuff that happened, and somehow I wasn't a libertarian or something, and I don't know. I am registered as a Democrat now, not because I see anything in the way of Democrats, but because I'm tired of the corrupt politicians in Delaware. In order to play their game, you got to fight dirty. So you have to register as one so you can vote all of the crap out. And that is an oligarchy in of itself, the way they take care of each other. And maybe we'll get into that a little bit during tonight's show.
Oh man, you're doing this is my plan, the stealth plan. I love it. I suggested that to the chair on the video the other day. I said, we need to start Operation Infiltration. You're not going to know who's next to you. This guy could be Democrat, Libertarian. You won't even know. So way to hide in the shadows, man, and get that vote. That's what you should be doing. That's cool.
Best way to do it here, I think.
I think so too, brother. Randy, what's going on, man? Let's hear about you. What's your journey into liberty, and what are you up to these days?
I told this 14 months ago on your show, but it is the reason I got into Ron Paul. Would be I always thought I was a libertarian, but I didn't know much enough about it. But then I was working at a very, very small radio station in Westchester, and then Janet Jackson showed her breast on the Super Bowl, which I wasn't watching anyway, but I watched the halftime show. And because, I figured I was working in radio barely, and I might want to be up on current events and so forth. So I go, was that her tit? And then apparently all of Congress got together, and the solution was, oh my God, so this never happens. We're going to raise the fines from $32,500 per utterance or per flash of nudity. But so then so they raised it tenfold. They made it 325,000. And I was working at a small station. I was like, this is crazy. We got to be extra, super, super, super careful. And the host of the show goes, well, every Republican voted to raise the fines except one. And that one was Ron Paul. And then I have been a Ron Paul follower. Totally. I love that man more than any other politician that's ever been in office. Congressman Massey is my favorite second person. Unless he's watching, he's my favorite. No, even Massey would say, who's the best? Ron Paul. Mm-hmm. So,
probably the greatest living American. Let's just settle on that right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just truly a great man, and in it for the passion of doing it. You see, it's so weird to see like people go, well, you're a Republican, so you must be like Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham and Ron Paul aren't in the same universe. I mean, they're just one I couldn't hate anymore, and the other one I couldn't love anymore. So it's weird that we pigeonhole into something called Republicans when it's the furthest thing. And it's a shame more people don't know more things about them.
Absolutely, man. But I mean, to Greg's point about being a Democrat, it's like, if that's the disparity between Republicans, Ron Paul and Lindsey Graham, it's like, I'm pretty sure this is almost an exact quote, but libertarianism, the freedom philosophy, should infiltrate Democrats, Republicans, and libertarians. Ron Paul.
Yeah.
He said that. So go where the action is. That's what I'd recommend. But the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Delaware may have a different tune. My party, baby, join this one. But I won't put any words in his mouth. Carter, what's up with you, man? Tell everybody what your journey to this was and what you're up to these days.
I took a little bit of a different journey. I grew up early on. Parents were Democrats, so I kind of followed along that. Ross Perot fans at the time, blue collar family. But then I'd say probably like high school started leaning more Republican. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. That was pretty heavily, I'd say, right leaning, Republican leaning. But then some guys I worked with in the Marine Corps actually started turning me on to libertarianism through social media. Found out about I guess really just about libertarianism in general in 2016 with Gary Johnson. So that was my intro to the LP. I'd say I went pretty hard for Jorgensen in 2020, and then later found some different libertarian views in the form of the Mises Caucus. For me, it was, I think, more about the activism and getting out, introducing people to libertarianism. I didn't feel, especially me being a newbie, that the LP was really doing much. Despite being libertarian, I didn't know about the state party. Really, even before 2020, I don't even think I knew there was a national party. Not real big into politics, but I found in the LP what I thought the Republican Party was supposed to be, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then I slowly came around. Things like police accountability were one of the last issues I came around on. And I'd say probably kind of ironically now one of the things I'm pushing on the hardest.
Yeah, you have been. Let's springboard from that, man, because I've gotten to see some of this, and I've been popping a lot of black pills lately, and what you've been doing has been great white pilling. So I need that in my life, bro. I know that you guys just did. I say you guys. I mean, I'm in the party with you, but I wasn't at this particular event. But you got onto just a regular old block party where people were having some fun, and in the heart of Wilmington, in the hood, and you got to put out a little table with your stuff and some books, and
it did happen overnight, right? So back in I think it was February, there was I think the ACLU put it on, but there was a town hall at the Boys and Girls Club in Glasgow on policing in Newcastle County. And I was like, this seems right up my alley. So I went out, sat back and kind of listened to everybody for a while. Matt Meyer was there, which was kind of interesting in the crowd. And it just started toward the end, kind of throwing out what the libertarian solutions are for this stuff. And it wasn't really new to people. A lot of people have heard things like ending qualified immunity, repealing Leo Bohr. It was that somebody in politics was actually there trying to fight for it and not just, throwing out empty promises, which was kind of the whole point of the town hall, because all the Democrats that have been running the state for close to 15 years now, in 2020, they made a bunch of promises, didn't keep them. 2022 made promises again, still haven't kept them. And just letting people know that there is a party that has principled solutions and will stick to their guns on them. And we were extremely well received. But so what that did was tee up a series of protest rallies. We were asked to join one in Wilmington back in June, and then that springboarded to one down in Dover in July. Got a little bit of earned media on that one, which was nice. And then again, just building relationships with some of the grassroots players, and reached out to J Street. They were having a block party in the city. Said, hey, do you mind if we come and set a table up? Not at all. So we went out, had literature out, the world's smallest political quiz, and we were just there to introduce ourselves to the people. And that's really all it was. I think it was Jorgensen's campaign. She kept putting out a poll. I think it was USA Today, but it was something like only 17% of the people polled had even heard of the LP or libertarianism, one of the two. So I mean, that's our that's our biggest battle, is that people don't even know that the philosophy exists. So just getting out in the community and letting people know there's something else other than what you're taught in school and what's on the media has been huge for us.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. And just to paint a picture, there's some cool pictures out there, but like, here's, an ex-Marine vet, manning a table, open carrying in downtown Wilmington, murder town, with kids playing, live music, kids taking Tuttle Twins books from the table. Great. Like free handouts. Adults are getting free copies of Anatomy of the State. Pair this with that book with your kid. And lots of people took the quiz and found out that they were mostly or all libertarian.
Yeah, we had about 10 people take the quiz that night at the block party, and I think only one ended up not in the libertarian section, and they were dead center centrist. But yeah, I mean, I think most people inherently probably at least lean libertarian and just don't even realize it.
Well, I think everybody's libertarian at the core. I mean, if you believe in this country in any way, shape, or form, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then it's ingrained in our core of who we were born to be. Whether you believe in a creator or not, you have to believe that you have inherent rights when you're born. And I think that that's something that people know deep down inside. And so when people are brought in with a liberty message, it is very popular, especially amid, one party that wants the collective whole to have all of the say, the Democrat Party. They want to basically give the collective a say over top of what your rights are. And then the Republicans used to be the party that would understand the Constitution, but the Republicans are just as bad at this point in time. So when people hear that libertarian message, I think that gets very popular.
Right. And what we've done, right, we've basically taken one issue, and this is kind of the Mises Caucus strategy that I think works, and people just need to employ it, is coalitioning on single issues, right? So we've picked up this police accountability coalitioning, and when people hear the principled message, they know that you're actually there to fight for it, but it opens the door to then segue to other things that they care about, right? What's important to you? And then listening to, empathizing with what actually matters to them, because at the end of the day, we all want the same ends generally. It's the means where we disagree, right? And so when people hear that there's another way, a way without using force and the government gun to get there, maybe we can try it out.
Not bad. Right. And it's so encouraging, man, to see that. And I think it's a compelling argument to make, at least here, while we're talking Delaware, that the branding for the GOP is like, for somebody who lives in the city, is beyond repair. So you can't let
me address that for a quick second.
Sure.
So just a while back, I had the opportunity to do photos for a very nice gentleman who was running called Kevin Wade. I'm not sure if you guys know Kevin, but just a great guy. Really enjoyed him. And he had a lot of liberty messages, but he's a Republican candidate. When I went to the meetings for the Republican Party in order to help him out, this office was down in Newark, where I guess Kmart used to be, and just off of Main Street. This place was so run down. It wasn't organized whatsoever. And immediately upon seeing how badly the Republican National Committee in Delaware was keeping their office space, I knew that Kevin was in immediate trouble. There was no support whatsoever of a unified front in order to help him. During his campaign, Ebola was breaking out, and he got so completely consumed into the trap with Chris Coons in arguing about Ebola. I knew that the party had completely lost its way. And after the University of Delaware debate, he walked up to me and goes, "How do you think it went, Greg?" And I said, "I don't think it went well at all. You need to change your talking points." And that was the end of me working for Kevin Wade. The people that were advising him did not like my assistance in what I felt was going to sell to the voter. Kevin continued to keep in touch with me as far as one-on-one, but I realized that I did not have a spot at that table at that moment. Follow through the next 4 to 8 years after Kevin Wade ran, I have friends that entered into the Republican Party who wanted to try the run, and they got no support whatsoever, which is why now we have absolute crazy people that are running as Republicans in this state. And yes, I don't care if she's watching right now or you're friends with her, but Lauren Witzke is a nut job And if you're looking at trying to win,
she got more votes than
election,
anybody in the history of a Senate race in Delaware, though, for the GOP.
and
So
doesn't
she did
that
the
show
best.
you what an absolute asinine state we are in here in Delaware, as well as in our country? The fact that somebody who really is just spewing out absolute nonsense is getting the hate
And the
vote.
Fed, good. And the income tax, good. And the wars, good.
How's she going to do any of it? Because she doesn't understand it. It's talking points for her.
That's a good call.
Dave's guidance. I think the interview with Dave and Lauren Winsky was incredible. I mean, I think had more in common than they didn't. You know, I mean,
I tried to give a little pushback when it comes to some of that stuff you're talking about. A little bit, you know.
You found what you had in common and you ran with it. And you know, by the end, she's going, oh, maybe drug dealers shouldn't go be put to death or something. Whatever. She had the most ridiculous opinion of drug dealers. Which wasn't she a mule at one point?
She definitely was. I mean, and right now, so a lot of stuff's going on, and a lot of people, a lot of the America First crowd have pivoted on a dime to go right back to neocon form. She wasn't one of them. So
she was great on your show. I've never seen her anywhere else. I mean, she was on Rick's show, but that was on the phone, and I think it was
for the record. I would, if I could bring her into the Libertarian Party and run her as a Libertarian, I would do it so fucking fast your head would spin, Greg.
You know what? Go ahead and do that, and the Libertarian Party will continue to lose in Delaware, and will continue to not be taken seriously.
Always have. We get more votes.
But this is the problem. This is the reason why I'm a little L and not a big L when it comes to this state, right? The Libertarian Party can't get their shit together when it comes to the in-party fighting half the time. Now, I think that, Carter, you've done a great job in kind of organizing this whole thing over the last several years, because let me tell you, there were factions that were stealing, you know, these are the Libertarians at the registrar's office. I know he was. And that's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Like that is complete bullshit. The fact that this happened in the state to begin with, or that had to happen, but you want to polarize more, you know, run Lauren Winsky, put her up there. I can tell you, you know, somebody who actually could get the votes would be me. I wouldn't do it, but I know for a fact, with the backings that I have from different individuals from the Republican Party,
Greg, do you understand that this is the problem, though? You have the skills to do it, but you won't do it.
I will not do it.
This is the nature of the busybody. This is why Democrats like to run and win, and Republicans and Libertarians and conservatives like to be left alone and not do it.
I understand that. But my reach is far larger on the network every single day talking to America than it would be running locally here in Delaware. It truly is.
How does that stop Deshaun O'Neill from passing child mutilation laws? I need your help for that.
Well, I want to know how me running is going to stop people like Laura Sturgeon, who is manipulating people in Moms Demand Action to get gun control over through people taking gun classes. Where at the gun class I was at with her, she was talking about, well, what if I were to write this language in? Does that get around the Constitution? Yes, those were Laura Sturgeon's words. And so what I'm getting at is it's so corrupt from Lisa Blunt Rochester, who checked up on me when I was doing a story on something there was a racism case. And she contacted another individual here in the state going, I need to know about Greg Boulden. Is he a good guy? Well, Lisa, you were in my classroom. You know that I'm a good guy. You know what my career has been like all this time. Why are you touching base on back channels? And why are you absent anytime I try to get your attention?
You know the answer to that. It's because you lean, you're a lowercase L. You're a racist. That's why.
Absolutely. I guess I am.
Yeah. I mean, but this is just, so I guess what I'm trying to bring that back to is like, well, people might hate the Libertarian Party. They already do. They already think that we're a bunch of weirdos, gun nuts, all these things is just in the zeitgeist. So I don't see the problem. I mean, you know, we have weirdos running all the time. And I don't know. I see enough overlap with Winsky, even with the flat earth stuff. I could care less. Just get out there and get some votes and say you're going to end the Fed and end the wars. You know what I mean? Be good on money. If you can do all those things, the other stuff's just kind of window dressing.
Yeah.
You need a Ron Paul shirt once.
Not solid. I seen it. What do you guys think? All right. I heard Randy Carter. Should we take Lauren Winsky into the party?
I'd say it may be a bit of a stretch, but I mean, to Randy's point, I also didn't see the podcast with you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about issues. I mean, if she's good on the issues, that's kind of our bottom line. We don't exactly have the all the most professional people in the party, although I think we're trying to change that image a little bit. I mean, as much as we can when I say a little bit. But I mean, to the point of who runs and what offices, and I think it's been a failed strategy to try to act like you're going to win the presidency or even a national seat, whether it's Senate or House. I think where we need to start here, focus on our school boards, town councils, county councils. Even, I know you mentioned Laura Sturgeon, Greg. If we get, there's a lot of unopposed races in Delaware, right? We can go heads up against a Democrat or heads up against a Republican and have a far better chance of winning than if we're running in a three-way race, right? Because then there's no lesser of two evils battle to deal with. And I mean, it seems like the parties don't want to spend the money or can't find candidates, and that's why they're not running anybody, because they know they're going to lose anyway. So why the hell not jump in the race?
The school boards are a great place to start, I would say, because at least you stand a chance.
Yeah,
like that's your stronger vote. My vote for president is 1 in a gazillion versus might be 1 in 3,000 or something for a local school board member. So
yep, we had a candidate last year ran in the Smyrna school board race. He was in a three-way race against the Democrat incumbent and the teachers union backed Republican, and still managed to get 15% in that race.
Wow. So we have, like, in the borough of Westchester, which I don't live in, but I live in Greater Westchester. But in the borough of Westchester, Republicans don't bother running anymore because it's all just full-blown Democrat, like just each one more extreme to the left than the last. And then so a Libertarian woman ran, I don't even know her name, but ran for mayor, and the Republican Party endorsed the Libertarian woman running. So, maybe if you had a strong Republican who at least was Libertarian leaning, maybe you could throw your support towards that Republican who's Libertarian leaning and then take more money and time and effort and put it into that school board race or something. Or maybe that's a dumb idea. I don't know.
No, that's a great idea from just somebody who's looking to spread liberty around. And I'm not as focused with the label as Benzo Barbie just said. Focus on nonpartisan, unopposed races. So, I mean, this is great advice. It is the local strategy, but it almost makes your political party irrelevant. But again, to go back to Greg's point about being registered as a Democrat, Deshauna Neal, who is an absolute demon, an elected official out of Ellesmere, she won her primary. Carter, I think you could tell me, but probably 12 or 15 votes is pretty much what she, I think, of something around there, won her primary against her, or excuse me, won.
It may have been a little more, but yeah, I mean, we're talking
a handful of
margins,
votes. And then beat the Republican by it was like 65 to 30.
I'll tell you what's going to get me in trouble. Randy said it really well, and I know Rick talks about this on his show all the time. The school boards and the local town policies and all of those things are where libertarians really need to start putting their efforts. And the reason I'm saying that is, if you look at the school boards, especially in Newcastle County, you have people that want to be career politicians and not people that actually want to have a sound policy in education. Right. You have people that are building their market right now. And I'm not going to name names, but people should figure out who these individuals are. It's pretty simple because they go with what the latest left-leaning talking point would be, and they rattle their saber until everybody gets upset at these meetings. And then you have, two sides battling. The problem is the left controls the school boards. As a public school teacher, I can speak pretty authoritatively on this, because I see a lot of conservative teachers and libertarian leading teachers that do not want to open their mouths because they're afraid of the school boards and they're afraid of the blowback, which is one of the reasons why I'm a union rep, because it helps me protect myself as I navigate those waters, because it's very important. What are you going to do? If you're going to fire me, it's going to be because of some type of cause and that I really screwed up, and I'm not screwing up because I'm a damn good educator. That all stated, there's something that I'm not sure that people know in Delaware because it never saw the light of day, but I had a tip sent to me that one of our school board races was tampered with, and it went all the way to the Attorney General, Kathy Jennings, who decided not to follow through with the charges on it. So we have a corrupt system even with our school boards, with the elections and outside interference from outside the state of Delaware and money. And our attorney general is aware of it, and she's not doing anything about it. She's not following up. So if you have this as a starting point with fraud and corruption and unfair elections, well, how are you supposed to get your candidate into a school board race when all the money for the left is funneling in to make sure that they hold on to their seats?
Right.
So you're
They
like
do have
Ron
a monopoly.
Swanson. You're a teacher, but you're a libertarian, but you're probably like not entirely
Play both sides to always come up on top.
Ron Swanson works in government, but he thinks his job should be obsolete. So, I don't know if you ever watched Parks and Rec.
Oh,
He's
great
the
show.
part of it. It's
I
the
mean,
fact
I would disband the Board of Education, and I'll say that as a public school teacher. I don't believe that we should have a Board of Education. That there's nothing in the Constitution that gives the authority to even have one to begin with. We are failing across the board. You go to any school district throughout this entire country, and you will find that kids are reading in high school at a 4th grade level. That is unacceptable. So tell me what the school boards are really doing, what the Department of Education is truly doing, to span it all and give the power back just to the local neighborhoods to try to run things. And maybe you'll have a better education system as well. I can tell you there's excellent teachers in the public schools. That's not the problem. I've run into some amazing educators throughout my career, and they're all phenomenal. The area really is, No Child Left Behind, where we push students forward from 4th grade, the 5th grade, the 6th grade. Meanwhile, we have systems that in place where kids are being pushed that really don't have any business being pushed. And then when they get off the high school, it's shocking because they're like, well, wait a minute, I got to pass all these classes in order to move forward. And you have a school system that over COVID throughout the state of Delaware started saying, well, the lowest grade you can give is a 50. And in some school districts, it's a 50 or a 25. So now there's no such thing as failure for not handing anything in. And there's the argument of, well, if you give someone a 0, then it doesn't give them a chance to catch up. You know what gives someone a chance to catch up? Trying to do some of the work. There's no teacher giving a 0 for a kid that's trying to do work. There's no teacher that's failing a kid for trying to do the work, because then it's on the teacher, because the teacher obviously isn't doing their job if no kids are learning whatsoever. And so, we have this completely broken system, and it trickles down from the top, the Department of Education, all the way through to our boards, and just people that are ill-managed and prepared to follow through with any of this.
So I'm taking note, man. You're a registered Democrat, lowercase L libertarian, who said that he would be good at running for something. I'm just putting it out there, bro. If you're not running for school board next year, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? You obviously can spit this liberty shit, and you could do it as a Democrat. So as to just sneak in there.
We won't tell anybody.
I think the word's out now. I think Dave versus Goliath has me exposed that I'm a primary voter.
yeah, they will come for you. Lisa Blunt Rochester has already been making calls. Who is this racist getting over here?
Hey, so since we're talking locally, Matt came up just a second ago with Carter. Is he going to run for governor? Because I'm hearing rumors that
he announced already.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was official or whatever. Look, no one in this state ever wanted to talk poorly about Jack Markell, because Jack Markell, people were like, he's like this mafia boss. If you utter his name in a negative way, he'll make your career go away. So I probably shouldn't even say this whatsoever, because I probably won't have a job tomorrow since I spoke ill of Jack Markell. But I think Matt is one of those other politicians that is being set up and groomed the exact same way, that I'm worried that if you don't go with the Matt way, you're going to be in big trouble in the future. And so does anybody here, have you talked to him? Am I getting the wrong vibes? What's the 411 on that guy?
Before and you guys can take this, but that is kind of why I named the show The Delaware Way. I mean, that's what we do here. I mean, Chris Coons was a intern for Biden. He earned his stripes. He groveled at that guy's feet for 15 years before he got the gig that he has now. And now he gets to live it up, because that's what you do. He was
Biden's first dog, except he didn't bite his hand.
Exactly. That's how it goes. And now look, Lisa Blunt Rochester is elevating from the House to the Senate.
Oh, and guess Sarah McBride is going to go straight on up, because we got to have a trans person go straight on up too. And
okay, now you just ruined your chances. Thanks, Greg.
I know, but no, I mean, it's not that's not in any way, shape, or form like trying to be anti-trans. Like, anybody that knows me knows I don't care. Live your life however you want to live your life. I'm not like that.
Everybody. I'm just kidding. It's okay.
My problem with it is it's so freaking predictable as to who they're going to run, right? Like, oh yeah, okay, well, now we got to make sure that, if you don't vote for Sarah, you must be a transphobe. Jesus, come on, people. Give us like options that are actually earned for what people are bringing.
I have a hunch that just like only fucking 7% people knew that the Libertarian Party even existed, I don't think many people know that that's not a woman.
Oh yeah, no,
I don't think that they know.
Born Tim. Yeah. Now I can't get elected because I dead named. I just realized that. Crap.
Yep. Don't say who you dead named, and then maybe we'll be okay. But somebody is named Tim, and somebody is running for election, and something to consider. I just think that that'll be a mark on Delaware's ledger, and really America's ledger forever. Really, we're going to elevate mentally ill people to the highest offices in the land. I just don't understand that that's a good idea. If there was somebody who was like a known alcoholic, I would be like, yo, you need to think about that. Alcoholism is a disease. We're going to elevate them to the Senate or the House. I don't know, man. I have a bad feeling about that. We should have compassion for everybody, but I don't think that we need to embrace all the stuff and elevate people to the highest offices in the land. That's just me, though. No hater. But I did think that I might go out and do some man on the street stuff in Delaware and find out who knows that that's Tim.
That's a good.
Oh, now you've done it too. That you're fired.
You're out
canceling. You're canceling your podcast.
That's
guess
Goliath. That's right. Take it from me. I don't care.
We'll
go to Rumble. It's all good. We've been canceled before. Let's talk about what should the Libertarian Party be doing other than should we care about president at all? Should we just focus on the local stuff? No, Carter, we'll go to you, man. You know that I am a political junkie, and I talk about this crap all the time, and I know where you're focused at, but why should we not care who is running for president or not?
So I don't think that we shouldn't not care. No, I think we should care from the LP. I don't think we should really give a shit who's running from any of the other parties. From our perspective, though, I think we need to give up this pipe dream that we're going to win anything and make sure that we're focusing on that candidate being able to reach people and deliver a message. I think that's something that Spike was really good at during the Jorgensen campaign and then continue to do after the campaign. He's out there doing work in the communities, meeting people where they are, empathizing, and bringing people to libertarianism through activism. I know Amash says that, that it's not the party's place to do activism, but when nobody knows who you are, you got to get a little active.
I know. And you know what? I'd be much more likely to take his advice if he had done anything within or adjacent to the Libertarian Party ever.
Yeah.
I know you registered L while you were in Congress there for a little minute. So we had, a rep. That's cool. But, do some work and then you can offer advice. Yeah, on his way out. Sure.
I think
what do you guys think?
National election, the presidential election, is say Romney versus Hillary, or Romney versus Obama, which it was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It
was a nail biter.
Then if you had a good libertarian or any libertarian, you should be pushing that libertarian. But if the Republican happens to be Massey or Rand Paul or Ron Paul or even the vice president of someone who sucks, but the vice president would be Massey or Rand Paul, then I think we shouldn't be wasting our 3% on a libertarian. We should say, especially if it's Massey or Paul, just be like, let's not run somebody this year, or we'll run somebody as a placeholder who proudly says, don't vote for me, because this woman, Christine Smith, ran back in 2008 and for the Libertarian Party. She didn't get it, but she was trying to get the nomination, and she said, if Ron Paul gets the Republican nomination, I'm going to blatantly just say, don't vote for me, vote for Ron Paul as a Republican, don't waste your vote on me, because he's God, and I think we should do stuff like that. I don't know why I'm saying we, but
wasn't that the year we got Bob Barr, the CIA guy?
Yeah, and Bob Barr was begging Ron Paul to back him, but Ron Paul finally voted for Chuck Woolery. No, Chuck Baldwin from the Constitution.
That's it.
He endorsed him at the last minute, and I voted for Chuck Baldwin.
So this year, I think this is going to be, despite what any, libertarian presidential candidates might say, I think this is going to be a rough year for the Libertarian Party as far as vote totals, which again, Joe Jorgensen did 1.7 million votes, I think, or 1.7% of the vote. Does that sound right, Carter? So, with, two as unlikable candidates that we'll most likely have, plus an independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I really feel like this is probably one of those election cycles where we have to remember that we're the remnant, and you got to reach the remnant, and you got to build, you are at the bottom. 1% of the vote is the bottom. So most people haven't heard of the party. We went over that. This is the time, Carter, we've talked about it. We met through the Jorgensen campaign, and we happened to find a bunch of people that were dissatisfied with the local and national party and said, let's form the Delaware Mises Caucus. And that turned into some more good things. We had to fight hard to get the party and get the messaging that we wanted and turn this into a thing that the Ron Paul revolution could be proud of and could one day attract maybe good candidates, and we could get more hands on deck. What do you guys think about that? Do you think this is the year for libertarians, or do you think we should play it cool? And what's up? What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, no, it's not the year for libertarians, but it's a shame because I've had Mike Termott on my show several times now. I think I've actually interviewed him 4 times between Twitter Spaces and my show, and the guy is super likable. He is on message and on point. He helps clarify those that feel the Libertarian Party is obsessed with legalizing all drugs and the old talking points that were always used to shoot down libertarian messaging. He's on brand. That all stated, you're correct. This is not the year for libertarians on the national stage whatsoever. In fact, there's only one thing I think that could happen that would open it up to the Libertarian Party. And that would be if Donald Trump is convicted before the election and they find a way to make sure that he can't run, which, let's be honest, they're trying to make sure this guy can't run. And if Joe Biden decides that he's going to step down and not run, which I'm hearing a lot of rumors from people that are close to Biden saying that is a possibility right now, which I think is why Gavin Newsom's raising so much money, because he knows the writing's on the wall. And so if you have a vacuum of leadership, because let's face it, the Republican Party, their stable sucks when it comes to who's actually running right now. We don't have Rand Paul. You don't have a Thomas Massey up on that stage. You have Dumb and Dumber and Dumberer all on stage trying to argue over who's relevant at this moment. In that moment, the Libertarian Party could have a hook, because people are so fed up with Republicans and Democrats at this point in time that if those big names go off to the side, then you're really only fighting against RFK Jr. And let me tell you, that is going to be the person that I think people need to watch out for. I don't like Robert Kennedy Jr. I don't like him because he's tied to all the things that he says that he's not tied to. When you actually open up his financial books, when you look up his support in the Ukraine, when you open up kind of this lotus flower, so to speak, and you're seeing all these little things that you're picking at, you're going, this guy is not who he says that he is. I think a lot of people got into, that thing that happened back in 2020 in his message, which I'm not going to get into right now. But I think he got popular through that. But if the Libertarian Party wants to have a shot, they need Donald Trump to be out of the equation and Joe Biden out of the equation. In that vacuum, they can thrive. But outside of that vacuum, they need to focus on just the local elections at this point in time. I think that's the most important place to spend time, talent, treasure, and resources.
Yeah, I'll say, man, a week ago, I would have said, look, I don't know, maybe I'll settle out of court for a Vivek Ramaswamy if nothing looks good. At least I know he wants to go to war with the Mexican drug cartels, but he pays lip service to the Constitution and this shit. And even I never wanted RFK to come into the Libertarian Party, though some people did. But I can understand why an independent or a lowercase libertarian would want to vote for him outside of the party. He was, again, like Witzke, he's great on the most important issues of the day, which to me is the COVID lockdown, the COVID regime, World Economic Forum shit. He's bullshit. No, he is.
Bullshit. The guy was funding all of the pharma the entire way through. He was doing nationalization of being able to get your medical records for all the pharmaceutical companies. He was financing that shit the entire time. So that way, that, whether you got nationally registered after into your vein, into your arm to make sure you did your good deed. Again, trying to stay away from this from YouTube for you, not say the word.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
But if you look up Vivek and you look up his donors, Martin
Oh
Shkreli.
yeah. I thought we were talking about RFK. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about Vivek.
Yeah,
you talked about Vivek saying
he's a farmer bro. You're right.
He's a farmer bro. Martin Shkreli.
Untrustworthy.
I mean, yeah, completely untrustworthy. Anybody would throw a vote in his way. Completely bankrupt fraud. Now, when you get to RFK Jr., yes, you have the whole thing on his environmental and vaccine lawsuits of what he's been doing for years outside of the conversation of 2020. But outside of that, he is really, I think, very similar to Donald Trump as far as a lot of his policies, except I'm a little bit more skeptical of the lobbyists and donors that are in his pocket, that he wouldn't be no different than a Hillary Clinton should he get involved in, get elected. But no, I was going off Vivek because I was like, I cannot believe that you're going to support that guy.
I honestly, I think I'm what he does is, I mean, this is all at the libertarian level, this level right now. These guys are on messaging campaigns. So when he goes out, that guy is an absolute assassin with the words. So he's so prepared. He's so rehearsed. He knows all the talking points. He knows exactly what to say. He knew that he should go to Porkfest and mix it up with the local libertarians because I want your vote. And when he asks who should run the Fed, he goes, I was just thinking maybe Ron Paul. It's like, get out of my fucking head, Cambridge Analytica. I know you, bro. I know what you're up to. You're giving me exactly what I want. It's red meat, but you're not going to do that.
He's Obama 2.0.
Yeah, and I think if I had to guess, that he is running defense. He is Donald Trump's pit bull because he's already made the art of the deal. You're going to be my number 2 guy. And I think that's probably where that'll end up. I think Trump will be in the race and I think he'll win it. And I think with a guy like RFK as an independent, he will probably ensure a Republican victory. If I had to guess.
Do you don't think RFK would steal voices, Randy? Don't you think that RFK running is going to steal votes from Donald Trump and then possibly give the Democrats the election?
It could go either way, but he's going to be, I think, a lot like Ross Perot. I'm not comparing him to Ross Perot, but maybe in the way that Ross Perot got 21% the 1 year of the popular vote and got 0 electoral college votes, which does, it does bring up a point that he was against the electoral college. And back when I was younger, I was like, we got to get rid of that because I really loved Ross Perot.
That's why they had to get rid of the women League of Women Voters. That's when they did away with them and they brought in the Commission on Presidential Debates. The Democrats and Republicans were like, never again can we allow somebody to just come in off the street with a couple $1 billion and tell people about, yeah, can't do that.
He was saying the stuff that, he made more sense. He talked like a normal person. I really liked him. I was running around in that Flyers wearing a blazer.
Listen, when I remember being a kid and being like, this guy's super weird because all my information came from like SNL and like that's what kind of stays in your head is the Dana Carvey shit. And now you go back and watch it, it's like, nah, that guy made a lot of good sense. And I understand why people would go for that.
I didn't vote for Trump ever. I voted for Rand Paul in the primary. And then I didn't vote in the general election in 2016. But I'm watching Trump and Hillary debate, and if I have to agree with someone more than the other, obviously I was agreeing with Trump a lot more than Hillary Clinton. And then in 2020, I was actually going to try to change to be a Democrat and vote for Tulsi Gabbard because Ron Paul said some really nice stuff about her. And I started looking into her and I was like, at least she's sincere. She seems sincere about being anti-war. And I'm not going to vote for a pro-war candidate. So I was like, I was wearing a Tulsi shirt to work and all that shit. Because, I want to like someone who stands a chance of winning. I'm trying my hardest to. But so then I ended up, she got out of the race. And so then it was, it was Trump versus Biden. And I found, it was Trump and Biden, but Biden had a partner. Chris Wallace was his partner in the debate. Mr. Trump, this morning, you said that you love those cheap Jews. I never said that. Oh, so
I'm banned.
You hate. Okay, that's good. We go a commercial now. No, but anyway, so
yeah, they did team up.
It was unbelievable, but I found myself agreeing with Trump more than Biden. So, I mean, not that I almost feel like my one vote doesn't matter because it kind of doesn't. What am I going to do in Pennsylvania voting?
Look, I've never
like oh my God, he lost by 1 vote. And
and if they did, they'd never tell you that. And I've never felt more like my vote doesn't count when I see the entire sphere of the regime come together to stand in solidarity with Israel.
Yeah.
Vivek, Trump, Biden, Millet.
When you had
all these people,
picture, I said Ed too, Vivek, and you answered it for me and other libertarians.
Yeah, you can be good on all this stuff, but you know, there's some stuff you just have to say if you
Millet
play
is
the game.
too?
Yeah, well, he's got at least 5 or 6 the first day. I stand with them, total solidarity, all this stuff.
Yeah. That's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think any one of them is just saying and winking when they say it and they get their fingers crossed? I mean, I think Rand Paul, when he's running, all of a sudden had a page, I stand with Israel. And I like unliked him on something I was following on Facebook, whatever the social media, it could have been MySpace. But anyway, I was like, I was so mad. Like, why do you have a giant page? You know, his father wouldn't have done that, but maybe his father went, you know what? Just play the game. And when you get in, pull off the neocon mask and go, ta-da, fuck you.
That
no
would be
one's
great.
getting a dime. We're 33 trillion in debt. Why would no one in their normal life would do that? Would go, oh my God, we're about to lose the house. Oh, your cousin needs some money? Well, why don't we borrow it from the bank and give it to your cousin? I mean, nobody in the right fucking mind. So any guy goes, I'm a conservative, but we should give money to Israel. You're not a conservative. Stop fucking saying conservative. I don't know if cursing gets you kicked off of YouTube.
Oh, you can curse.
No, we can curse all you want. Go right
Just
ahead.
don't mention getting something in your injection.
That's the thing.
Randy, I want more impressions during this show. That was a spot on Chris Wallace earlier. That was awesome.
Is it Michael Malice? Conservatism is progressivism driving the speed limit.
That's it.
Like they're conserving what progressives did 10 years ago. Like,
right.
That's it.
Yeah. Essentially the Washington Generals to the Globetrotters, man, just power bottoms. These
Because
Republicans.
Rand Paul, there's no way he feels like we should be giving money to one country. There's no way you don't grow up in Ron Paul's house and go, no foreign aid to anybody. Hey, Dad, how about giving it to one country? That's a great idea, son. He wouldn't.
No, I mean, Rand Paul knows. He's read Rothbard. He's read Mises. He knows all the shit. I think you're right. He knows what he can say and get away with and keep his job, and what you can't.
That's why Massey will be the one Republican no on the Iron Dome. And then he's anti-Semite. Everybody had to call him anti-Semite. It's like, you know what? Like, what are you going to tell? You prove to people that you're not with words? Just
yeah, this is. I mean, it's taken over, man. The state of Israel really does have a lock on a lot of the states. Abby Martin was talking the other day. There's some law that was passed in 30 states, like where you go if you work for like certain corporations. This is probably like BlackRock shit, but like you have to agree basically when you go to many college campuses and speak and stuff. They'll make you sign waivers. They're like, you can say whatever you want, but you're not allowed to protest or call for protest of the state of Israel. That's like the caveat to in. Like 30 states.
Florida, like
probably, yeah.
Very boycott or something.
Yeah, you can't boycott or encourage to boycott.
Yeah.
My show this morning was actually on the Israel-Palestine conflict and then where does Hamas even exist within all this. And I got to be honest, I was scared out of my mind to do this show because I know that when you're dealing with facts, people don't want to deal with facts lately. And I had to tell the story, honestly, of this is a recent conflict in history. It's only 100 years old. You know, when people talk about Israel and Palestine, this is something that's been going on for some time. And neither can claim that they're completely innocent in the entire conflict, right? You got Israel that has killed Palestinians and has taken over part of the Gaza Strip. You have Palestine who has retaliated, but saying, you know, well, during all these different accords that have come out that we were supposed to be given some land so that way we could have our independence. You now have your own country. And then in 1987, Hamas comes out, and Hamas is truly an evil terrorist group. And so I think what's going on right now that kind of people are confusing is this isn't really an argument, so to speak, about Israel and Palestine right now. We can have that conversation later about, I do think that at some point after this whole Hamas thing's cleaned up, we need to figure out what do borders look like. And somebody's got to say, all right, the Arab people have this area. Here's a sovereign border. Israel, you have this as your border, and now get your shit together and stop killing one another and coexist. That's really important.
Why is 1947 ringing a bell?
So 1947 is when Israel. Okay, so do you want to tell people, Carter? I don't want to ruin it.
No. Go ahead. I'm
47 map.
I'm like 30,000 foot view of everything. So
yeah. So the thing that people should know, what I think Carter's getting at, is the UN and it ends up getting involved in all of this. And so the Zionist movement says that basically that the Jewish faith and the Jewish land should go one in the same, that they are no different than a British person should belong to Britain, that a Chinese person should belong to China. And so therefore the Jewish faith belongs to Israel. And so in 1947, you have to kind of go back a little bit further, Carter. You got to go after World War I, the fall of the Ottoman Empire. And at that point in time, Britain, Russia, and a bunch of other countries got together and said, all right, we want Israel to have their own state, and we want the Arabs to have their own independence. So let's broker this. By 1947, that's when the UN got involved, and they kind of forced the agreement upon everybody that this was going to be Israel. Everybody should recognize it. This is going to be the area for the Arab nation, so to speak, and everybody should, right. And they kind of got this whole thing and screwed it up. So, now we have Ukraine and Russia and all that. And I bring that up.
Did they get the whole thing? And did they get the whole thing and screw it up? Or did Rockefeller and British oil interests get exactly what they wanted?
So actually, Russia got exactly what they wanted. Britain got exactly what they wanted at the time. And you could look at the larger money schemes that were going through and say, yeah, they all kind of had a special interest in all this happening. So when war starts breaking out by the 1980s, what's called, I think, the first Infidante, is I might be saying that wrong, but it's basically their first uprising. That's when all these other countries are like, oh, we have nothing to do with this. We're out of it. Britain's like, oh yeah, Israel, we've acknowledged them for years. We have no interest there. And that's when things really started to hit the fan in Jerusalem and all these other areas. So landing the plane here from what Carter's getting at, the United Nations has created so much conflict, so much turmoil, and has brought the United States into things. And most Americans have no idea about what Israel has done to Palestinians and what Palestinians have done. And so they're getting only one side of the story. And should you dare to try to tell it with facts, you're called an anti-Semite. And so it's really disgusting to me, the fact we can't just have a factual conversation about what's going on right now, that everybody is not playing well in the sandbox together. And unfortunately right now, yeah, Hamas is some really evil bullshit people that need to be wiped off the map. But after that, we need to broker peace, or else we're going to wind ourselves up into World War III, especially if Joe Biden continues this rhetoric, sending all these warships over there. We're in a really perilous situation. I know this conversation was supposed to be about Delaware tonight, but with what's going on in the Middle East,
we're gonna do the Jews instead.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I guess I shouldn't even say that. So if we're not going to acknowledge the fact that we just moved 6 warships into the area, and meanwhile, we're fighting a proxy war against Russia. Meanwhile, Taiwan is still on the table for China to invade. We are in a really bad situation, spread thin. And let me tell you guys, the worst part of it, all these people sharing these bullshit photos of these power sailors coming in, they're killing those people at the festival. If you want to start publishing that on my Twitter feed, but you don't want to publish what's going on at the southern border, you're a moron. You're a moron for not paying attention to the fact these same terrorists are coming into our country right now as we're speaking. And they have terror cells all throughout the United States. Intelligence agencies know this. They've been debriefed on it over the last several months. And so if you're in a city like Philadelphia where people were celebrating Hamas killing people, well, that is a problem. You should probably arm yourself and protect yourself with the Second Amendment here over the next several months. And for people to think I'm fear-mongering, I'm not. I'm trying to tell people we're in a bad, shitty situation.
I've seen more footage of the war that's been going on for 24 hours in the past 24 hours than I have of the Ukraine war the entire time. So you know who are the influencers that want you to see stuff and don't. There is no news. There's only spin. So if you're seeing a lot of it, I mean, I always look at that. And I know you said, man, and this is true. There's bad people on both sides. But when I look at this, man, I think Star Wars, man. I think there's the empire and there's the sand people. And yes, that kid may have thrown a rock at the IDF tank coming through, and that's aggression. But is it the same thing? I'm not saying that the terrorist attack that just happened, but I don't know enough about the events that have happened, but I know that they're calling it their 9/11. And I know what the 9/11 here was all about. And that was all about they finally got what they wanted, whether they let it happen, whether there was some rogue agents in the government and here and in Israel and in Saudi Arabia, it's irrelevant. They got exactly what they wanted, which was their 20-year war, spend trillions, get rich, the neocon agenda in full effect. So when I hear, well, we're at war and we are going to unleash, holy fury, like Netanyahu, bro, I know he's like been president or been prime minister. He comes back again, takes a little time off, comes back. But that guy's been in my life since 94 or something like that. He has wanted nothing more than to house all the people that are in that open air prison. He's a bloodthirsty monster. So I know that any terrorist act is awful, but I'm hearing the same word that they used in Ukraine: unprovoked, an unprovoked attack by Hamas.
Bullshit.
This is
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Right. I mean, yeah, Carter, what do you think about this stuff, man? You were in the military, and
yeah, I mean, that's a whole other aspect of it, right? Like, I've seen the worst of what war has to offer, and everybody's getting a little bit of that right now, but it tend to only get one side depending on who you are and where you're watching. I feel like that none of the statists are talking about where Hamas even came from, right? Like, what was Israel's hand in creating Hamas, right? What did U.S. policy have to do with creating a vacuum? Like, we need to get the hell out of everywhere else in the world and stop creating drama and perpetuating it, because that's really all we're doing.
Yeah. Without the U.S., who would prop up Israel, the UN, the Ukraine, and NATO? I mean, think about that, man. We wouldn't be just cranking out all U.S. taxpayer dollars, all the energy you guys all go to work for, all that to go fight these wars.
U.S. taxpayer dollars. They're not spending our money. That money is gone.
Yeah. They're spending your grandkids' money. You're right.
You guys don't tell the government how you want your money spent because they spend the money on the road down. Yeah, it was a la carte choice, and I said no wars. They're not spending my money. It's like the $6 billion. It's like that $6 billion that Biden gave back to Iran just a few days ago. I promise you, it only went to humanitarian aid. It did not fund Hamas. They had nothing to do with it. Iran did not say, Hamas, you have our blessing. Here's the plans. That didn't happen. It wasn't.
Do you think that's part of the thing? I mean, Biden's obviously being blackmailed every day of his life. Do you think that's one thing that they kind of just made him do so they could? He looks like, I've always said this, he will be the fall guy. He's old enough, stupid enough, and he's on his way out.
Where did the weapons come from? Afghanistan. Hamas doesn't just become all of a sudden having all of this stuff. We left $7 billion worth of military gear in Afghanistan, which funneled through Hezbollah, funneled through the Taliban, went up to Iran, and now is really in the hands of Hamas from what intelligence agents are saying. So we know that this is a failed policy from the Biden administration, and then they released the $6 billion for oil, right? But the problem with that is now Blinken comes on to CNN and is like, oh, no one worry. This was all for humanitarian aid. And the South Korean bank that we're funneling this money through is going to make sure. Okay, well, what about the other $6 billion? How you're just going to it's money laundering in a sense of what Iran's doing to fund this rest right now in the Middle East. And it's disgusting.
I feel like that's a lot of the foreign aid, right? Humanitarian aid that, especially to a lot of the third world countries like Africa, that's where a lot of it ends up. It gets the government, corrupt government gets the money, and it goes to their power players.
Yeah, and if Iran is watching, that's what we do. That's what we used Afghanistan to launder money for 20 years, and now they're doing the same thing in Ukraine. That's a big part of it. So yeah, if you see that, we've been sending $4 billion a year annually to Israel for forever. They just got another 9 because, emergency stuff. But imagine how much they're not even calculating in drug money and human trafficking. So much. Something to think about.
I know you mentioned that the, $100+ billion going to Ukraine. I just saw a story the other day that something like $25 billion of that was to prop up Ukrainian businesses
and their pensions.
So
they have a little money in their pocket.
right?
Biden literally said, so they have some money in their pocket.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, I really hate these people. I hate the
I wonder
state.
how the people of Lahaina feel that these people have money in their pocket,
Yeah.
and the people of Lahaina got a bullshit $1,200 from The Rock and Oprah Winfrey, only if they sell their blood children.
Speaking of human trafficking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, oh God, it's so disgusting what this country has become in foreign policy, and the fact that there are these moral superior assholes that are out there that feel like that they have it right, that their candidate is trying to save the world, that they don't really understand national policy of the United States whatsoever. They don't know the unintended consequences that this has all had, and they don't want to see through the charades of what's being sold to them by the big parties, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. It's so frustrating. And then to come on and like do these type of shows and talk about it, it's nice because maybe somebody's listening, maybe somebody, the light bulb's turning on in their head right now and they're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Or maybe we're all in just this echo chamber and we're not getting anywhere. And
if one person gets one thing out of this.
Yeah.
One life.
As a libertarian, I'm comfortable winning no debates and winning all the arguments. So
I like it.
That's what I settle for. You know,
I think we should be pointing out when someone does anything libertarian, and at least exposing it for good. There was a clip Trump said that's getting some new traction now because Joe Rogan reacted to it, and he reacted the same way I reacted to it. So he's ripping me off. No, I'm kidding. But Rogan said they played a clip of Trump on CNN, and the woman's going, "Do you want Russia to win this war?" and I want you to answer. Do you want Russia? And she's baiting him. She wants him to look like a jerk for not saying, "Yeah, Ukraine, boo Russia." And he said, "I just want the dying to stop. I don't want people to die anymore." Like, and that's pretty libertarian of him. I mean, Ron Paul even said Trump as the candidate is a lot better than Trump as the actual president. Like once in a while, he'll stumble across saying something kind of decent.
I'm so desperate. Anytime I hear rhetoric come out of any statist mouth, I go,
yeah.
You know what I mean? When Ron DeSantis said, "You know what? You can go to work," I was like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah. If it pleases the crowd, may I go to work today?" Yes.
When she said no one's job, it should be called whatever the hell they call it, non-essential. I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
She's libertarian and she's not.
Give me something. Yeah. Do you think, I saw Phil Labonte from All That Remains and Timcast said none of this would happen. He's awesome, by the way, but he said none of this would be happening in Ukraine or Israel if Trump were president. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
I don't think the Ukraine would be happening.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's enough. I mean, he can veto stuff. I don't know if the votes were there to override anything if he vetoed it, but
it looks like, I mean, I feel like Trump likes doing military stuff, and I'm not sure that there's been a more cozy president to Israel than Trump. So I feel like that probably would have definitely been on the table.
But does Trump really, use the military though? When you think about his presidency, he did not. He rattled the saber really well, and he basically was like, "F around and you're going to find out." And I thought that was a great part about him. He kind of ruled with an iron fist, like, "Hey, you want to play games? We'll play your games, and you're not going to like the United States response." I think to Randy's point, I don't think that Iran happens, or not Iran. I don't think that the Ukraine happens. Just because I do believe that Trump had a pretty good conversation with Putin when he was president.
It was a perfect.
It was a perfect conversation. No one converses better than I do. It was an art of a deal. And I think that when that conversation was happening, he knew that Putin wanted to kind of reestablish. And as long as Trump was president, Putin wasn't going in. Once Biden goes in, because of what I know about the Bidens and the connection to the Ukraine, the Delaware way here with Hydansky, yeah, I think that weakened the United States' ability to defend the Ukraine and probably gave Putin the timing to go in. As far as Israel goes, I think Hamas is going to do whatever Hamas is going to do. But here's where I think maybe it stops. I don't think Trump screws up the exit from Afghanistan which means that the entire geopolitical atmosphere of the last 2.5 years wouldn't be in the same state. So maybe Hamas does not have the means. I don't think that Trump was going to unfreeze money for Iran. We had much stronger sanctions. And so there may not have been the means to execute these attacks under a Trump presidency. But I don't think that Trump simply being president makes everything of the world's problems go away. Those people are delusional. But the foreign policies, I think that could possibly change.
Carter, do you think, I mean, I'm sure it could have been done better, but should Biden have gotten out of Afghanistan? Like,
should he have? Yes. How he did? Hell no.
Too quick, leaving all the shit behind and that kind of stuff.
It didn't even look like it was a military withdrawal.
A retreat.
It was just nasty looking. It was bad. Horrible planning, horrible execution.
Why do you do it? We know that Biden doesn't make any decisions, right? He doesn't make any decisions.
Yeah, I mean,
so
brownie points. Yeah.
I mean, is he trying to win over libertarians? I doubt it.
I think he decides his ice cream flavors.
Is it because they had to move on with phase 2 of the new century, and we're going to Ukraine, and we can't be in two places at once? Could it be as simple as that?
Right, and Ukraine goes back. I mean, the modern conflict goes back to 2014 when he was in the vice presidency. Like, I mean, when we installed the puppet government. I mean, it only makes sense that could have been a pivot, right?
Did you see in 2014? I think it was Klobuchar, McCain, and Lindsey Graham over there speaking English, and then they're translating it to the soldiers. And our fight is your fight, and they're saying all this stuff. And those three are, and there's a Democrat with 2 Republicans.
It's called bipartisanship, reaching across the aisle, get stuff done.
Those dicks were starting that in 2014, getting them all assed up for that.
Don't worry, when it's bipartisan, everyone's getting fucked.
Yeah, they all will.
Yeah. As the great Tom Woods said, no matter who you get John McCain.
Yeah.
That's the rule of thumb. And we're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
Neocons still run shit.
From a age group of this conversation, I think it looks like we have a lot of Gen Xers and maybe younger Gen Xers, but I think we're all probably in our 40s and 50s here. So I think 56. We're all 56. All right, you're Gen X, right, Randy? You still qualify for that. Yes. All right.
The oldest one in the room, I certainly look at.
This is a question that I have for all of you. And so, Dave, not trying to take control of your show and
do it.
I'm really kind of curious for this because I think it goes into Lindsey Graham and all these other a-holes. So at what point do Americans finally band together and go, we've had enough of the baby boomers. We've had enough of the Pelosi's, the people that are going to die in office, Feinstein here. At what point do we go, this isn't working? They're getting us into $35 trillion worth of debt. Education system is failing. The drug war has failed. All of the initiatives that they've put forward have completely failed the American people. Social Security is not going to be funded. So what is the path forward to educate voters to stop voting for the old people and putting them back in office?
I feel kind of hopeful. I feel like a lot of what we're seeing now is some of that pushback. I think it took Biden and McConnell maybe to get there. But yeah, I haven't seen anybody really going hard on age and getting younger people in office than maybe the last year.
I'm sure you guys saw it. Matt Gaetz gave one of the best 2-minute speeches in Congress the other day. I mean, he let him have it. And when they booed him for saying, when the lobbyists come to your door and you're groveling, they booed like, yeah, we like that. We like the lobbyists. Like he said, I don't care. Boo me all you want, man. So again, I'm sure he's interested in self-preservation and he needs his $20 and $30 donors to keep his spot. But he's showing up on shows like Timcast. He's probably 38, 42 years old. I don't know, somewhere in that realm. So I'm hoping that there are people that are brave enough to at least start going hard against the regime. I mean, they just removed for the first time ever the Speaker of the House because of the war shit and the spending in the Ukraine. That was the deal breaker. So that's really encouraging, man. God, I'm sure he probably made a tweet today about how his undying support for Israel is the most important thing.
Jordan.
Right. Thomas Massey's guy, right? I mean, this is.
Yeah. Well,
I got to say,
Massey-
Thomas Massey, he's always right on policy, but sometimes he's a bad judge of character, I think, of other politicians.
Think he goes, you got to pick your battles, because he actually said, I was the first one to try to unseat Boehner. John Boehner is the former Speaker of the House, and then even the other dude, Paul Ryan, he was like, I tried to get them out. So I think he's learned that like that's a losing battle being the Matt Gaetz, but I applaud Matt Gaetz for what he did. I don't know. I think you got to look at Massey's voting record on other stuff and figure that maybe he's learning some stuff about longevity where you just kind of grin and bear it on some stuff. I don't know. It could be, maybe I'm apologizing for him. I'm wearing his fucking shirt.
No, he's that dude, man.
I love that he follows me on Twitter. I have like 7 followers, and Massey's one of them, and Jess Margera from CKY is one of them.
Boom.
He's on Massey's payroll. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, so I was curious. Matt Gaetz did put out a tweet 4 hours ago, and this shows the ultimate irony of him railing against the money to the Ukraine. Tell me if I'm wrong. He says Israel is on autopay per the senator's wise legislation. They have a qualitative military edge for good reason. They will crush Hamas. And Marco Rubio, he's retweeting, posted that the reason military aid to Israel will not face some of the obstacles Ukraine aid has faced, because back in December of 2020, we passed my bill authorizing a minimum of $3.3 billion a year in aid for 8 years up to 2028. He's bragging about it.
Jesus.
Wow.
Like
I love him more than
the irony.
I do.
It's like here, I like this war.
Yeah.
I don't like this war. Let's, 2.2 million people on the Gaza Strip. We know Hamas is there, but hey, 2.2 million people. Sorry about your luck. We're going to be bombing the shit out of it with our $3.3 billion we're providing.
Hey, now, we got a year and a half of an anti-war right, okay? Yeah, you're not going to get much more than that.
It was nice. Carter, remember when they were the Republicans were anti-police for a minute, and then we had the Summer of Love, and they were like, "Fuck that, get these animals off the street."
Yeah,
right back. Back to default.
I'm hoping people are starting to wake up, because we got cops enforcing bullshit gun control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, right here in Delaware, cops conspired to charge a guy standing on the side of the road, holding a sign, letting people know about a speed trap.
Yeah, Rick covered that a lot. I was on the show.
Total bullshit, man. Cops have gone rogue. At least in our state, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, and as Greg said, if you get a generation of kids that go by with no 0 test scores and like everybody passes, guess what your cops are going to be like? The worst.
Mm-hmm.
The worst.
I mean, right now, if you're looking at Delaware locally, Delaware State Police, Newcastle County, they can barely get a qualifying class in because they cannot get qualified applicants. So we're already starting to see that as a problem. The Summer of Love did so much to get people out of the police force that policing is truly hurting at this point. So, some of the people that are there, they're going to uphold these BS 2A laws that are getting passed. One of my least favorite ones is now the school zone laws. I have had I don't believe I should even have to have a concealed carry permit constitutionally. That all stated, because I would like to not get arrested with my children being young. I went ahead and got one, but now I can't even go anywhere near a school with my concealed carry license because of the laws that just got passed and signed off by Carney. And I don't think a lot of Delawareans even know about that yet. And the cops are going to enforce this, and to me, it's a violation of the Constitution. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this with New York just almost a year ago now. But I don't know why we're so slow in Delaware to be able to appeal some of these things that are unconstitutional, taking your rights away here in this state. And the Democrats don't care. They're just going with the lobbyist moms demand action gets bussed in. There's not even people living in Delaware that care about this stuff. And they're just getting all your emotions. Meanwhile, teaching in a public school, my first question was, hey, how come we don't have metal detectors? And I was told by the elected officials that I spoke with, that would cost way too much money to put metal detectors in schools. Oh, so you're just going to take away everybody's rights. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
We could have had armed security guards at every public school in the country for years for all the money that we sent to Ukraine.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, I hate these people.
It's not about security. Like they say it's about safety, right? They know how to
control.
they know how to make a building safe. You have controlled ingress and egress points. Go to Leg Hall. They know how to secure a building. They refuse to do it.
Do you ever go back and look at statistics on mass shootings and look at them where, like, in the 50s there was either 0 or 1, and then this year there's more mass shootings than there are days in the year that we're finishing? Oh, right. I mean, there's like 300 mass shootings this year, whatever the number is,
and 25 definitions of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like they say 4 or more people shot or something.
Randy, I'm curious. Where are you going with this? Where are you going with this? Because I'm curious. I'm going to be upset with you or not.
Is there something in the water or something?
Okay.
Like maybe the drugs or something, like the prescription medication for kids or adults or whatever. I mean, maybe I don't know.
I think it's the fifth. I think it's the fifth. You've been bombarded, as we all have, for a good 20 years at least, with 5th generation warfare. Absolute MK Ultra mind control from all of your shit, and all of the phones have, exacerbated this 1,000 times, but literal fucking mind control. There's no thought in our head that we just, came to. Everything's been put there, man. And honestly, most of it's unnatural and not good for you. And the current state of things is kind of like an agitator. It doesn't want you to be still, doesn't want you to be able to meditate. Why do you think they want everybody to be dependent and hungry and angry? Because you can't sit still and meditate and think about what really matters. You know what I'm saying? If you always keep people in like a state of anxiety, you win. And this is all done. It's all in our head, man. You go outside, in Delaware, right? Carter just went into the hood. You would never, if you spent your life online, you wouldn't think that he could just go into the hood strapped and like make friends with everybody, right? Because we've seen too many movies and too many videos on Twitter, but like that's what it is. So like we have to remember to go out and, like, as they say, just touch grass, go out and mix it up with your community. That's what I would say. I mean, we got to get out and shatter the paradigm that they've created for us.
I would offer this empirical data to Randy. I've been an educator off and on since 2001. When I started in education in 2001, there had been Columbine, but the kids that I was teaching, there was not a lot of mental health issues. I think I can remember one girl who had separation anxiety back in 2001, 2002, another kid that had a little bit of anxiety being away from their families when they got to school, and that was it. Now, I followed through education, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I started off teaching there. Then I taught at a college level for a brief period of time. When I got to the college level, I saw like the entitlement generation in 2008, 2007. And I was like, these kids, man, they're paying $30,000 and they're not even doing the work in my class. Like, this is crap. I got out of education, went back to industry for a while. And then I wound up back about 8 years ago. And I'm shocked at the number of kids that have anxiety disorders, panic attacks, mental health issues. Autism in Delaware and throughout the country is skyrocketing. And, I want to ask you guys, do you know anybody in your family and friends at the same proportional rates that we would have at a younger generation that has autism? I would say that the answer would be no, you don't. You might have one family member, 2 family members, but that's it. But if you were to go and look at the actual numbers that we're seeing in the schools right now, you probably have 1 out of every 17 kids is on the spectrum. Couple that with the anxiety and the mental health, and you have a perfect recipe then for complete societal unrest, because we are not equipped to deal with all of the things that are coming at people left and right. I want to make it clear, I'm not comparing autism and anxiety together. What I'm trying to compare is the fact that there is an environmental factor in all of this, whether it's cell phones, whether it is drugs in the water from runoff over the years of people, lithium or whatever it may be. I don't know. But my point is exactly DuPont in this area, although it's a national crisis problem. Yeah. We have a problem that is exasperated in one other way, and that's respect for life. I am unapologetically a pro-life individual. That's something that's a non-negotiable for me. That all stated, my libertarian beliefs allow me to go, you do you, because you're going to be the person that gets judged at that later on. I believe that's my beliefs. That all stated, if we don't value life at the very beginning, a child in the womb, and we can just say that is expendable, we can abort that, then at what point do we start to cheapen life at all other stages throughout? We have people that want to legalize euthanasia now and make it so you can just end your life. At what point is death a special part of the lived experience? At what point can you even rob death of its grip and go peacefully into that? It's an experience that we don't really talk about often enough. So I see this as like a threefold thing. I think that we have mental health crisis like you wouldn't even believe. We are bombarded, like Dave said, almost in a mind control sense of our cell phones, social media. We have these algorithms, Cambridge Analytica, people completely, fucking with us on Facebook and algorithms to divide us and to create distrust. We have accounts on X and Twitter. And then you have a society that has turned away from understanding the pursuit of happiness of your neighbor because they want to be happy and they are selfish. And so those three things are a perfect recipe to see more school shootings, more violence in the streets. And so where I'm planning my plane on this is when you talk about the shootings, notice these politicians don't give a shit about the kids in the city. They only care when it's an innocent kid killed out of school. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of kids killed in Wilmington, Delaware. Philadelphia, it's dangerous just to walk the streets now without getting stabbed or shot at. That's not me, overblowing the situation. And you go into places like San Francisco and all these other big countries run by Democrats. And it's not safe and no one's upset about that. But
I don't go to concerts anymore. And I love music. I played in bands and shit. And I would love to go down and see Fiona Apple or whatever, and people have offered me free tickets, great tickets, like the Psychedelic Furs and Squeeze or something. She's like, don't you want them? I'm like, I would like to see it, but I'm not going to the big cities. I'm done. They're not safe. My whole Twitter feed is just people beating the shit out of people, like sucker punching people for no reason. Just like stomping their faces while they're down on the ground, knocking their teeth out with their feet, and people go, what?
Look, this is something, Greg, you nailed it, man. The human experience is being, for at least 20 years, I've watched it be degraded. We've seen the dehumanization program. The other is not one of us. That is not that Muslim over there. And that is not one. These are evil, evil people. That's how Israelis look at the Palestinians. These are subhuman. Like, you have to do this through mass mind control over generation. Like, it takes a while to do this. And the kids today, man, talk about a kid in the city here, right? All those things we just mentioned, all the cell phone stuff, all the 5G, all the, you probably come from a broken home. You're probably eating chemical food all day. Like, this is the position they want humans to be in, because that's where you'll be most easily controlled. And I'm telling you that they are pushing the mental illness. So when you hear Lisa Blunt Rochester going, we really need to do more about mental health in Delaware, that means that they're coming for you. Those COVID contact tracers are going to be moved right over to, we're just going to check up on these people, see how they're doing. We heard you might have had a little spat on Twitter with somebody, and that's coming. That's all coming, man. These people want, it's not enough to put, tap your phone, put cameras on the corners. They want to be inside you.
It gets
Go
worse.
ahead, Greg.
It gets worse. So you guys are probably aware of our children's hospital here in Delaware, which I guess used to be called AI DuPont Children's Hospital, and now it's Nemours. Are you aware that they changed their child policy? Randy, I think Rick and you probably talked about this at some point in time, but they changed their child policy that now, as a parent, when your child becomes the age of 12, you only get the notes from the doctor as far as what the action plan is, because it is considered a private healthcare conversation between a 12-year-old up through an 18-year-old in the state of Delaware now. Laws were passed and the hospital system has changed that. And now you have school boards that are also saying that, if a kid prefers to be called a different name, then we have to, when a parent comes in, use the name that the kid prefers, even when a parent looks us in the eyes and would say, well, I prefer that you call my kid by the name that I gave them at birth. It's putting everybody in a very precarious and odd situation to, number one, have a healthcare industry that's not properly sharing information with adults, and number two, have school boards and everybody else that are passing policies and mandates basically about what is supposed to be able to be shared with parents and taking away parental rights for their knowledge of what they're supposed to be able to know about their kid. And it puts me in a really awkward position as a public school employee. My personal thing is I'll call any student whatever they want to be called, because that is a small way that I can show love to that individual in whatever they're going through. If you believe that it's a mental illness, then why wouldn't you try to help that person with a loving standpoint at that point? That all stated, if that's my kid,
affirm mental illness.
No, I won't. I will not affirm mental illness. I will not affirm mental illness, but I will at least help that kid get through their day when they're with me for whatever time that they're with me. So that way I'm not adding to whatever the mental illness is that they're going through. The follow-up to that is what I wanted to say is, as a parent of a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, I want to know if my kid is going through sexual identity crisis, if maybe that they're gay and they're having trouble telling somebody. I, as their parent, would want to have that information to be able to have a loving conversation with my kid and to be able to support my kid through what they're going through. The state of Delaware and other states throughout this country are taking away that parental right in order to have that with the healthcare systems. And I think that that's really scary when you have a course correction before have a course correction of psychologists that are basically telling you what the science is. It's almost the same as 2020. I am the science, except now it's about gender identity. And the final thing there is the gender identity. If you think about it, it's kind of flipped and upside down. A trans person sees things in binary. They see things as male or female. The queer movement seems to see things as non-binary. And I think that this LGBTQ, I think the T is not agreeing with some of the others. And I think that the Q is driving the conversation in a way that the rest of them are uncomfortable with. I don't think it's a unified front whatsoever. And so I wish that we could have an honest conversation without hurting people's feelings about this and without trying to cancel people. Because as somebody who studied pastoral care and counseling in my career, it's something that I've studied, gender dysphoria. Why can't we have that conversation anymore without being labeled a hateful person?
But don't you think you talked about earlier, we're Gen X and we grew up in the 90s and stuff. Don't you think that this is a result of the slippery slope of like all the anti-bullying campaigns, all the take care of people's feelings, and we started the safe spaces, and this led to a thing like a place where you have really like narcissism is at the root of a lot of this. And I'm not talking about a teen, a 12-year-old who's like having issues with themselves coming into adulthood. Because guess what? We all remember that happens to all of us. But the difference is, back when we were growing up, if you were going through some shit, I was the goth kid. Weird, right? But, had I went to my mother or father and were like, you know what? I think that I'm an alien, and that's how I'm going to be identified. And they went, yeah, you know what? You are. Sure. Like that is the problem, that the parent cannot be counted on to deliver the truth to their kids. And again, certainly not school teachers. And to add on to what you said, man, like you want to know as a parent what's going on with your kids in school. It goes further than that. In Delaware, they decided that like, yeah, if your kid needs an abortion or needs like gender care, like they can go to your family care provider and they'll pay for that. Like insurance will pay for that. But the legislators found out, they were like, you know what? Parents are getting the bills. And it says what they got on the bill. So we got to come up with another law. So we got to protect children's privacy. And we got to make sure that the parent doesn't know what the insurance paid for.
But like it's money they want to get paid for.
Oh, sure. They'll take that. Yeah. They'll take Russell Brand. They'll take him. They won't take him off YouTube, but they will demonetize him so that they can keep the money that he brings in, but not him.
It's so absurd. It's just mind-boggling.
It really is.
It's all just another step for the state to exert its perceived control over everybody, right? You don't own you don't own your kids. The state owns you. The state owns your kids. Everything belongs to the state.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
anything to destroy the family.
But
go ahead, buddy.
Actually, Carter, you're correct. The state does own the kid because you gave the kid a social security number. And that's something that Michael Bednark taught me when I was in conversations with him. Michael was telling me about, you don't have to give your kids a social security number, Greg. I'm like, well, yeah, I did, Michael. I didn't have a choice. He says, bullshit. No, you don't. You entered into a contract that no one ever informed you were entering into. And as a result, the contract is null and void should you wish to make the contract null and void. And I was like, well, how could my kids get a job? How could they be paid? And he's like, well, let me put you in touch with some of these other individuals. And he did. And come to find out, there's plenty of Americans right now that understand it. I was never taught it properly, but there's some great Americans right now that are not giving their kids social security numbers. Their kids are contributing to society. They're getting paid. They're able to get around taxation. And it's a phenomenal method that I didn't even know was a thing, but we entered into so many contracts simply by the state being like, well, it's a contract and sorry, you didn't understand it. That is something I wish we could educate more people about, not just from a libertarian standpoint, just as an American standpoint, that you don't have constitutional rights, right? You have constitutional protections.
Right.
And what does that mean?
By the way, you didn't sign that either. So technically,
that's correct.
Spooner was right. I say that Spooner was right when people argue that and go libertarian autist, but public opinion is the only thing that matters at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you're living in a thriving republic or a fascist dictatorship. The only thing that matters is public opinion. So you're right, dude. If we could get people on board with understanding that, hey, you're not a number, they think you are, and you've signed your rights away forever. And that is how they do it. Chris Velrath is in the chat. Look, he knows all about this stuff.
Yes.
Maritime admiralty. Yep. This is the language that they use, man. It's why lawyers run everything. Legalese is just, it's like English, but a little different. You got to go look those definitions up.
You got to look at Black's Law. You got to look at the Black's Dictionary. That is the official legal dictionary. And anytime somebody has something that they want to argue with me over, before I enter into the argument, if I don't know enough about the topic, I go to that dictionary, I learn the word, and I'm going, ooh, now I know the original meaning. And most people don't know that the definitions are constantly being changed lately. So if you go back to the original definition, people lose their arguments left and right. It's a very important people to study that as a dictionary.
Right. If a cop asked you, if you understand me, boy. No, do not understand that enforcement droid. Do not do that. And don't plea either. Don't plea innocent. Don't agree to the terms of their court. Some quick advice there if you get caught up in the state. Dudes, we're about at an hour and 40, so we'll probably wrap it up here soon. But should we hit any other topics before we tell people where we can find each other and get on with our lives? I mean, we hit a lot. Local libertarian activism. We talked about Republicans, Democrats, and of course, the new war that we can all look forward to the next couple decades of our lives and maybe 40 trillion or so. Oh, man, it's going to be a long road to 2030. Fucking United Nations. Tell you what. But let's keep it. I feel like, look, we cannot vote our way out of this. There are some things that it doesn't matter. We cannot stop these things. So I think, Carter, you're on the right path, dude. We just got to go see what we can do in our community. And we do have, I keep calling it, it's my Death Star plan. Delaware is just this little itty bitty thing hanging off the tip of Pennsylvania. They got 3 little counties in it.
You know what? Hanif was talking on his show yesterday, Hanif Salam, about getting like just another 10 or 20,000 people to move to Wilmington to kind of help take their city back. Like that's all it would take. Yeah, Delaware as an entire state is kind of the same, right? If we can just get a handful of libertarians, I think we've got it much better than New Hampshire down here. We've got a big population base right over in Pennsylvania. We've got Maryland. We've got Jersey.
Nice beaches.
Folks into Delaware. Yeah.
Good call, man. And you are making great connections. Yeah. I mean, like it took 3 or 4 interactions, but like these are people that have faith in Carter now and that by extension are willing to hear about the Libertarian Party and invite us out
Yeah,
and there's lots of overlap.
And we don't agree on everything, and they get that. Like, hey, we can work with people where we don't agree with 100% of the time, just to get the things where we do agree passed.
Yeah. By the way, since we're talking about it, to anybody on the call, Greg, go to runaslibertarian.com. And if you're good on the issues and you want to run for sheriff or school board or city council or dog catcher or any of that stuff, we'll get you funded, man, because you can spit that liberty shit. So something to consider, man, for 2024 and anybody else out there who's listening. But Greg, tell everybody where they can find your show and how to support you, dude.
Sure. If you guys would like to follow what I do, I have a daily show on the America Out Loud Network, as well as on all the podcast formats. You can type in America Emboldened with Greg Boulden, or just America Emboldened, or just Greg Boulden. Just spell my name. It'll pop up, I promise. The AI, they figure it all out. They're really good with that. Anyway, so America Emboldened's my show. And I also do live content throughout the week on Twitter at Real Greg Boulden. So if you're looking for topics, I bring people on, I interview them, much like Dave brings people onto a show. So it's not always just my voice, but I do extensively read and research before I do things. So I try to bring a knowledge base to my shows when I don't have a guest, that you're at least kind of entering a classroom where you know that I've read the textbook, so to speak. So I'm knowledgeable on the topics. So I don't normally just do a stream of consciousness. I'm not like a Ben Shapiro by any means. I'm more textbook based, and so might be dry to some people, but I do my best every day. And
you would never get an invite here if you were Ben Shapiro-ish. Don't worry about that.
I wouldn't invite him to my show either. But
I really enjoyed you here tonight, man. You had a lot of good things to say.
I appreciate you inviting me onto the conversation. It was a blast.
Bonnie Jeffers, who's also on the board of the Libertarian Party of Delaware, agrees. She wants you to run for office. She thinks you got a good shot.
We'll talk.
And let's see. P-Nord said, peace, Greg. I think he enjoyed you too.
Peace.
So, peace, man. Randy, what's up, man? Where can everybody listen to you and support your actions?
I was about to say right before this that I knew a woman who was like 85 or something. I used to drive her to libertarian meetings, and she won Inspector of Elections or something. And it counts as a libertarian office. And I think she was probably the only vote or something silly like that. Or like there's offices like a constable where you might just be the only person votes. And at least it's a start into something. I can't do it in Delaware because I'm in PA, but you never know. So anyway, yes, I can be heard on the Rick Jenson Show. Weekdays, 10 till 2 on 101.7 FM, 11:50 a.m., WDEL.com. I have a YouTube channel. It's my name, Randy Dascher. Dasher spelt with a C, which is a pain in the ass because you have to go Dascher, and people roll their eyes back in their head and they never look up your YouTube channel. But I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all that crap. And and I wanted to ask you, Carter, when you open carry, if you were cold and you borrowed somebody's flannel shirt, are you now breaking the law if you don't have a concealed carry permit?
So I take exceptional care. I don't have a permit, so I take exceptional care to tuck my shirt inside the grip so that it's not concealed at all.
Do they want you? They want everyone to see it. Then it's okay. But if you hit it, then you're breaking the law.
Then it's bad juju. Yeah,
that's some really stupid fucking logic. But anyway, but I get it. I mean, I can see why some people don't want to get the permit. Rick was saying, oh well, they need to publish your name and address in
a paper. Yeah. And interestingly, I just found out. Yeah, and you need 5 references from the people in the county where you live, which I just found out came from I think it's 1832 Delaware law, where they were explicitly keeping firearms from free Negroes.
Ah,
yeah, imagine that.
Blame the Negroes. There you go.
First gun laws, right, came from runaway slave patrols and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
that is the entire
morph
history
that
of
into
the
rooted
in racism.
Yeah. How do you change that in Delaware? That's why you're a libertarian, I guess, and why you're. That's why we're all.
It's an uphill battle, man.
Not gonna lie to you, this is gonna take a while.
Yeah,
but I will say there's some people at Block Party that are like, I don't even know how to tell my Democrat friends that I carry because they'll be like, "You're a murderer."
Yeah,
and we got to get to the point where we can be communities again and disagree with each other peacefully without the complete binary red versus blue, left versus right bullshit.
I would encourage you guys, if you do carry, to tell people that you do. And I normally, I believe the element of surprise. I don't mean go advertise it, but your friends. I am very open about the fact that I carry everywhere. And there's a lot of people that they may view me in a certain light or a certain way due to my profession and what I do, or just they were like, oh, you're a really kind guy. And then they find out that I carry and they're like, oh, public perception. So people that carry aren't bad people. Right. You're well-trained. You're responsible. My children, have handled firearms already and they're young. And when people hear this, I think it changes the perception. So I would encourage you to have more conversations and not be worried about whether they're Democrats or whatever, because that helps change the public opinion and educate people that guns aren't these really bad, scary things. In fact, they're something that is a tool in order to help protect your person and property. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, man, this is like, if anything binds us together, it's just the founding documents and the guaranteed rights that you have here right now. So that's what I would tell everybody. I'm an anarchist, but I'll settle out of court right now for the Bill of Rights and encourage everybody to do the same. Stop trying to consume all the things that have been created for you and embrace what your ancestors have left you. That's what I would say. Carter, where can everybody find you? Actually, before that, Bonnie Jeffers, one more time. Randall, you need to come hang out sometime. She wants you to come party with us. So,
all right, I will.
Bonnie's a good time.
Thank you.
She knows how to party. Carter, how can people support you and your efforts and the Libertarian Party of Delaware, bro?
Sure. Our website, lp-delaware.org. You can shoot us an email at info@lp-delaware.org. If you want to message me directly, it's chair@lp-delaware.org. Social media, we're most prevalent on Facebook. Then I'd say Twitter behind that, Instagram probably behind that. You can find us at LP of Delaware.
Awesome, man. Keep up the great work.
And if you're interested in running for office next year, let us know. We're looking for candidates.
We'll get you in there. Any would-be tyrants out there want to start their political career? Give Carter a call. I'm just kidding. It's going to be for city council and it'll be tough, but you should do it. Chris Velrath, real quick before we get out of here. We're having a social at the end of the month. Come hang out. That guy's good at his job. Outreach.
Where's the social at?
Yeah, it will be Grain H2O. And forgive me, I need to check the date. Chris will keep me straight. He's our outreach director. I believe we're shooting for the 19th, but I'm not sure. Maybe the 26th.
It's usually once a month. So yeah, get in the Discord or hang out on Facebook. And yeah, you guys should both come out, hang with us, have a drink, talk that liberty shit.
Nice.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
It's been a fun night.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Guys, that is going to do it for today. Let me get this banner off my grill here real quick so I can say bye to you guys properly. That was a lot of fun, man. Some smart dudes, and I appreciate their time. And what else? I'll be back next week, probably with my main man, Dan, and I will be on The System is Down this Wednesday with that dude, Dan Smots, to talk about some LP drama. So if you're into that, tune in. That'll be live 3 p.m. on Wednesday. And yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. Can't wait till next week. See you soon. Bye.